it's over. The experiment is done. And now we have finished. So we can just play for fun now. For fun. Imagine that. Now I can just spam Shadow Bolt in any dungeon that we go to. I don't need to worry about any kind of team composition anymore, or specific design, or set. I yearn for the mines. That's what it truly is. For those of you who are unsure what I am currently talking about, I have a main channel video coming out later on tonight. I've linked it in the Twitch chat just now. And it is a video chronicling the 100 days of Twitch streaming. 500 hours have been streamed over the last 102 days. How am I doing? I'm content. I've done what I needed to do. Isn't JoshStrifeHayes the main channel? No, that's uploaded by a guy called Visa, and he simply clips the streams from Twitch. That's like 500 hours. That is correct. That it was all an experiment. I wanted to understand the streaming world better. I can understand YouTube. I can do YouTube, but I don't fully understand Twitch. So I decided that I would spend 100 days for a total of 500 hours for an average of 6.5 to 7 hours a day with 1 or 2 days a week off, live streaming to gather the data, to see what it looked like, see what it happened, and it's fun, but it's not a full-time thing for me. But I did enjoy playing Warcraft. When did I start? January the 6th. I started streaming on February the 2nd. It was a New Year's resolution. The idea behind the New Year's resolution was to stream for 100 days and see what the graphics look like, how it changed me as a person, the psychological effects, the mental effects, the physical effects, the financial effects, the cultural effects, the ideological effects, just to see where it all went to. And I've learned interesting things. I've changed who I am, how I act, what I do. Yeah, lots of stuff. Was it worth it? It was worth it for the gain of the knowledge. It wasn't worth it for the way that I treated some people during it. It wasn't worth it for the money. But it was worth it for being able to say that I've done it. When Dead Mines, why can't you do dungeons? Because if you have a look at the guild online list, I am there, 39. Let's have a look at the people that are above me and below me. 41, 40, 38, 26. We simply do not have enough people who are within the level range of kind of 35 to 45 who could actually go and do the dungeons. Many people have hit level 70, that's the thing. So, I mean, I'm happy that lots of people have hit level 70. I just think it's funny that nobody, waited for me. That's rude. Okay? Me. Nobody waited for me. The main character. And everyone just charged off ahead, having their own little, honestly, straight-to-DVD film-based excursion that's not, I repeat, not canon. All right, if you leveled to 70 while I wasn't online, you are the My Hero Academia films of Warcraft. You may be very good, but you do not matter. You haven't streamed enough, so streamer privileges are taken away. I'm going back to YouTube. That was kind of mean, Josh. Red, I don't care. It was a joke. If people are not able to hear me compare them to the My Hero Academia films and think that leveling up in World of Warcraft quickly was genuinely something to be upset about or that I was unhappy with, that's a them problem at this point. I've spent the last couple of months trying to honestly coddle very socially unstable people's emotions, and I just can't keep doing it. I understand that I have a level of humor and a sense of humor that many people may find abrasive, and I understand that some people might listen to the words I say and think, wow, you're being a bit of a dick there. And you know what? If I am a dick, I will hold my hands up and apologize for that. But at some point, there is the English way of gently insulting people that you like. There's a classic saying, enemies bond by complimenting each other, but they don't really mean it. Whereas friends bond by insulting each other, but they don't really mean it. So I think at some point I'm going to make jokes at people's expenses, and if they turn around and go, actually that really upset me, I will apologise to them as an individual, but I'm not going to try and keep constantly treating people with the kid gloves, because otherwise I lose me. And at some point I can turn around and say, you leveled to 70 in like 3 days without me. You loser. And if people go, I can't believe he's being mean to me, then they need to understand that I was making a friendly joke with them. Don't get me wrong, I enjoy Twitch streaming, I love the connection, but here's what I think I did wrong. First of all, I very much blunted my general sense of humor, which itself is quite snappy, at friends who understand that I'm saying it with love and care, because you can't snap at people online and have them know that you mean it with a level of humor or a level of respect, because it just comes across as being a bit of a dick. But my friends in real life know that if I'm gently insulting them, it's a sign of endearment and a sign of respect. However, what that also meant was I was spending a lot of my time and a lot of my energy interacting with people who themselves, I think, were interacting in bad faith. There were people that came into the chat and they said stuff in order to be offensive, they said stuff in order to get a reaction, they said stuff that itself was either emotionally, ideologically, politically, or culturally charged with a level of expectation. And a lot of those people I responded to in a rather hopeful, in many ways naive and optimistic way. I thought, okay, look, the truth is, hurt people hurt people. And I can tell that this person is upset. I can tell that they're probably not from the best home life. I can tell they've probably not got the best social life, and they definitely don't seem like the most intelligent person. Maybe if I show them a little bit of civility and a little bit of grace, maybe I can be a positive moment within, at least from what I can tell from their short messages, is an overall negative life or an overall hate-filled life. But doing that, giving yourself emotionally, opening yourself up emotionally, and interacting in good faith with people who are there interacting in bad faith is going to wear anyone down. Almost like, have you ever seen those videos of people breaking massive stones by hitting them with a hammer and a chisel, and each individual hit does nothing, but then the final hit breaks the stone, and you realize that actually all of those individual hits were doing something. You just didn't see the psychological chip damage that it was doing because it was an internal fracture that was being created, and then you just saw the stone break with the final hit. That was what was happening to me emotionally, psychologically, and mentally because of the amount of people I was talking to. Now, I think it's true that we did manage to get through to a couple of people. People came into this chat and this stream with bad intentions, with negative energy, with poor attitudes. They came in here with prejudices. They came in with kind of preconceived notions of what was right, what was wrong, what's culturally acceptable, what's not culturally acceptable, and they very much wanted an echo chamber, or they just wanted to attack me for thinking ideologically different things to them. And you know what? I think there were a couple of times when we did interact with people like that, and we were able to change their mind. And we were able to hopefully mellow some of these people out. But for every success, we had 5 or 6 what I would refer to as failures. And unfortunately, that means that I was effectively sloshing around in the toxic sludge of the internet, kind of general fanboy world of various things. And you guys, the audience, were unfortunately subject to watching these absolute, for want of a better word, idiots constantly get platformed with their vile rhetoric that just kept being spewed again and again and again. And now I think what happens is if someone comes into the stream and says something that we can tell is being approached in bad faith, I'm either, 1, just not going to bother responding to them, or 2, if someone just keeps constantly trying to get my attention, but not in a not in a good way, in a kind of, I demand you pay attention to me because I deserve to be listened to and challenge your viewpoints kind of way, I'm just going to ban them. And people have messaged me and said, hey, if you ban people that disagree with you, you're going to create an echo chamber. I'm like, okay, I fully understand that. But, and this is going to sound really harsh to people that don't quite get it, I don't owe the world existing within a box that people get to disagree with whenever the hell they want to, at their own leisure, with no concern for my mental health. You're welcome to disagree with me, but you don't have the right to join a stream, throw around vile and toxic rhetoric, demand responses, demand attention, and then when you don't get it, turn around and say, well, you have to address me. You have to listen to me. It doesn't work like that. Because some people, and again, let me know if you've ever met these kind of people. Have you ever met people who absolutely 100% all the time have to argue? They have to play devil's advocate. Even if the devil doesn't necessarily need an advocate within that specific argument, they will argue for the sake of it. They will think, well, my entire purpose is to provide friction within this argument. They will think, well, this is not just a discussion, this has to be a debate because I'm involved. All of the conversations with them become debates. All the discussions become the cut and thrust of a back and forth. And you know what? At some point, it's just really draining. You don't need to define yourself by being a contrarian. If your defining trait is you disagree with people and you have to have a debate I've had people argue with me and then message me afterwards being like, hey, just so you know, I actually agreed with you. I just thought that you needed a good argument. No, not really. No, there's enough idiots online that you don't need to pretend to be one. Give it enough time and we'll find a genuine one. You don't need to say, well, you know what, you voiced an objective opinion, but nobody has challenged you, and so what I'm going to do is I'm going to be that guy and I'm going to challenge you. I'm thinking, you could just not. It's not that I want to create... Put it this way, it's not that I don't want to create an echo chamber. I'm not bothered about having an echo chamber. Sometimes when people comment online, all they're doing is screaming into the void. And sometimes they do that because it makes them feel better. But when you are streaming, when you are working online, you're actually working in the void that other people are screaming into. And at some point, the echo chamber becomes the endless regurgitated screams of the contrarian damned who absolutely need your attention right now. Being on the internet exposed me to thousands of people who absolutely needed to let me know what I was doing right and wrong at all times. And eventually what starts to happen is you as an individual become less of a person and more of a persona. You start to exist in reference to like a soap opera. People don't see you as a human, people just see you as a level of character that exists behind a screen. And to them, their drama, their show, is turn on the stream, interact with some drama, do a bit of trolling, and then go and live the rest of their day. The problem is that because I'm trying, and again, I say this is a naive thing to do, I wanted to approach people in good faith. And I think I just started to learn that maybe I do need to put the defenses up far more than that, because approaching people in good faith was, of course, exposing me. Would you like a healer? No, I'm good, thanks, but thank you for the offer. Approaching everyone in good faith was allowing the people that were acting in bad faith far too much leeway. The gates were unlocked and unbarred. That was the problem. And it was affecting me and it was affecting you. And at some point, kindness, what's the old phrase? Mercy to the wolf is cruelty to the sheep. And unfortunately, I was giving the wolves far too many chances and far too much leniency. Far too much access to me and honestly far too much access to you. So now if someone comes into the stream, even if part of me thinks, look, I can tell that you're a hurt person, I can tell that you've got these bad ideals, I can tell that you're desperate for some kind of savior. That savior ain't me. It doesn't need to be me. It doesn't deserve to be me. I don't need to sacrifice myself in order to fix every other problem. I don't need to set myself on fire to keep everyone else warm. And even though the teacher part of me will always see these angry young people as, even if they're older than me, I still refer to them as angry young people. I will always see these angry young people as scared people, as people who could be saved via a level of education, as people who could be saved via a level of civility. They could be saved, they could be helped, they could at least be guided away from a level of kind of horrific bigotry by a positive influence. But I've realized, you know what, that positive influence doesn't need to come at the cost of my own mental health every single day. That's why, and I'll say something to you now that I think is quite brutally honest. The best teachers burn themselves out really quickly because they genuinely care about the students. They genuinely care about connecting in a way that matters, about empathizing, about understanding. Some of the people that should be teaching are people who do not have the temperament to teach for a long time. The most caring people are the people who are burnt out the quickest when people don't care about them. And the people that have what I would refer to as the kindest souls, and I'm not saying this reflects on me at all because I know that I can be an absolute arsehole, but the people that have the kindest souls are the people that will struggle the most dealing with people who don't. I've met teachers who are absolutely incredible. They care about the students more than you can ever imagine, and they will leave teaching within 2 to 3 years. I've met teachers that absolutely do not give a shit about the students and are incredibly narcissistic and egotistical and arrogant and horrible, and they'll be teaching for 50 years. So at some point, somebody's going to join their stream and they're going to say something that I'm going to absolutely disagree with, and I'm going to say, you know what? Given enough time and enough mental energy, I could probably help change you. But I'm just not giving it because it's limited now. Sociopaths are far more common than we want to admit in all walks of life. Teaching especially. People don't like to think about it or admit it, but teaching, doctors, nurses, military, law enforcement, any of that, any kind of career that gives you a position of power over another individual will attract people that are there, not because the position allows them to do good, but because the power allows them to be powerful. Trick Mick Twitch, you have too much chest hair. That's a perfect example of negativity. Trick, I'm going to ban you because you can't just come in here and say things that are wrong. See, that was protecting my peace. That's very important that I immediately recognize the negativity that's brought into this stream and we straight away just stamp down on that. Yep, anyone that is in a position that makes them emotionally vulnerable to the input of others, anyone who actually cares, is at risk of mentally burning out. Do you ever think that's a little bit ironic? The only people that you're able to actually emotionally affect are the people that emotionally care about you. Like, if I didn't care about any of the things people said at all, it just wouldn't affect me. The reason it gets to me is because I do care. I do genuinely want to care. I do genuinely want to be able to talk and have that connection because I do want to care. And people, I find that quite ironic that the people that want to troll, the people that want to be offensive and insulting and abusive, will seek out people that care in order to, make sure they're communicating with them. And the reason I find this weird is the people that are trolling online or being offensive or being abusive are often doing it because they have quite sad lives. They don't have much going for them. They don't have many prospects. Maybe they haven't achieved what they want to achieve. Maybe they feel a bit insecure with everything. And so they're looking for someone to listen to them. And what they're doing is they're finding the people that listen to them. But then instead of asking them for help, instead of trying to connect on like a genuine, useful level, they're just insulting them. They're just being negative. And I'm thinking, look, man, I know that life's not going the way you want it to go. I know you're not where you thought you were going to be. And I know that you're clearly hurting. But why, when you have found someone that is willing to listen to you, is your first response, your first choice to be confrontational in a negative way with that person? I find that strange. And I think, honestly, it's going to sound horrible. It's from a lack of education. That's what it is. Is that what my DMs are filled with? Yes. My DMs are filled half with people who just want to insult me and half with people who are asking me for life advice. I think that it's a lack of education, it's a lack of maturity, it's a lack of chance. Because a lot of people who are happy and life's going great are not spending their time trolling online. Some people are taught that kindness is a weakness. And I think the reason they're taught this is because the role models they have growing up, whether it's parents, whether it's foster parents, whether it's guardians, whether it's other kids that they watch while they're growing up, they take advantage of kindness. And they're almost shown that kindness is there to be taken advantage of because it can be. And then if you grow up seeing that, you grow up learning that kindness is, at least in relation to how your life is, a weakness. There are many people who are not kind because they have seen kindness be abused. They have seen it be pushed back against. They have seen it be taken advantage of. And I think that's a shame. And I think that's one of the reasons that when people join the stream with bad intentions, as much as I want to just turn around and say, look, man, I don't want your kind of energy in my life, part of me thinks, look, this person has clearly not been shown enough kindness. This person is clearly suffering, so maybe if I show them a little bit of kindness, we can find some mutual ground. But the truth is, these people, a lot of people online, simply don't want to be happy. They want to be upset. They want to be irritated. That's the value to them, because that's what makes them feel important. That's what makes them feel powerful. But of course, it is a double-edged sword. You cannot have uncontained kindness, because then what you're doing is you're giving people that are going to take advantage of it the advantage. You cannot have suicidal empathy for everyone. You cannot, at your own expense, treat absolutely everyone with uncontained kindness, even when you know that's going to be negative to you, because people will say, oh, that's just a beautiful, kind, loving thing to do. No, at that point, it's foolish. We can't, but we should still try to. Look, I believe that we should try to show kindness and empathy to people right up until they've shown us exactly why they don't deserve it. If someone says to you, hey, if you're kind to me, I'll be kind to you, and then you are kind to them and they are kind to you, fantastic, spot on, great civilizational structure. If someone turns around and says, hey, be kind to me and I'll be kind to you, and you're kind to them, and they take massive advantage of you and damage you and harm the community you've built up and destroy it, then they were never looking for kindness, they were looking for weakness. It is the paradox of tolerance. We cannot tolerate intolerance, otherwise you just allow people who are willing to be dickheads run everything, which is not sustainable. So I think that's what happened was, and I think you guys have actually seen this with the stream, if you constantly extend an olive branch to people who keep grabbing the olive branches and snapping them, at some point you're going to run out of olive branches and wonder where all of your olive branches went. I absolutely want to be able to extend a level of empathy and a level of care and a level of compassion to as many people as possible. But I also don't want to be, honestly, quite frankly, stupid. And if I extend a level of civility to people, and that civility is consistently met with bad faith interpretations and advantage of my good nature, I'm going to start thinking, you know what? At this point, it's my fault. If the kindness gets taken advantage of, then maybe the kindness will go away and there'll be no solidarity, then there'll be no empathy and people will start to act different. That is true, that is understandable. However, what you can't do is you can't constantly sacrifice yourself for a system when the system has shown, or the individual has shown at least, that they are just going to take advantage of that. I believe that you should absolutely be able to extend kindness and empathy and compassion to absolutely everyone, right up until that person has shown you exactly what they're going to do with it, and you've decided that's not what you want to be done with it. I believe there will always be a hell of a lot of kind people, and I will always advocate for kindness and respect toward your fellow man. Always. But I will also advocate for you not being stupid. And eventually, if someone comes into the stream and they spout off a load of horrible, vile bigotry, and we say, well, that's just what you think. And then the next day, the same person comes back and spouts off a load of horrible, vile bigotry. And then the next day they come back, and this happens again and again and again. At what point is me extending kindness and allowing them to do that actually hurting the people that aren't doing that? Because I have a responsibility not only to my own mental health, but also to everyone else on the stream to understand what they do and don't want to be part of. Do I get that kind of bad person often when streaming? Yes. Yes, it happens a hell of a lot. You think this honest pessimism is correct? I wouldn't trust someone. I wouldn't even say it's pessimism at this point. I would say it's just an honest reflection of the general standards and the general ideas. If me saying that reducing the kindness shown to those people who have proven repeatedly that they don't deserve it is pessimistic, then I'm happy to be. There are many people in my life who are good, decent, respectful, honest, genuine, hard-working people. There are many people in this chat who are good, decent, genuine, hard-working people. And you know what? You guys, you deserve my time. You deserve my respect. We cannot continue to tolerate intolerance, because if we do, we are effectively handing over any control of any system to the people willing to do the worst things. I've said this before, but the paradox of tolerance is that you must not tolerate intolerance. It's weird. It's very strange. I've spoken to many people who are, and I don't like the phrase bleeding heart, because I myself am definitely more on the liberal side, but unfortunately the phrase bleeding heart really does work when I have met so many people in life who will absolutely sacrifice everything they have to not look like they're being mean to anyone ever. And I think at some point that I've got to realize that there are people online that I've kind of got to be mean to, because if I don't stand up for what I believe in, at some point I've got to admit that I don't believe in it. Bald Eagle says, you used to be the kind of person who was negative a bunch. You've got a decent paying career. Oh, congratulations, well done. You've turned things around. A lot of the relationships you had are now gone. Bald, is that because, first of all, thank you for sharing that with me, man. Is that because the relationships that you have, whether it's friends, family, whether it's any kind of connection, they valued the negativity? Do you think that's kind of where it came from? Do you think there are some relationships that place being negative over any kind of connection? Because I think there are. I think there are many people who value being upset and being unhappy and being angry over any kind of actual solution. You caught me live. Sios, welcome to the stream, man. How you doing today? There was another really good question in the chat. Does it piss me off that people need validation on their MMOs? It doesn't piss me off. It makes me sad. It makes me sad that there are so many people in the world who want to do things that make them happy but aren't confident in them because they have at some point potentially experienced a level of what is effectively just bullying about it. When someone wants validation for doing something, I don't see... It doesn't piss me off. What I see is I see a small, scared child. I see a little kid that at some point loved video games or films or TV or books or music. I see a child in everyone that at some point had a spark of passion for whatever they were doing, which got completely extinguished by whether it's culture, whether it's society, whether it's an individual person, whether it's, just a general vibe that they had to go through in life. But when someone wants validation for what they're doing, it doesn't piss me off. It saddens me, because I genuinely want people to be able to enjoy whatever the hell they enjoy without feeling that they need validation from people into why they enjoy it. And sometimes when people say, hey, is my MMO the best? My MMO is the best. You've got to do this. They're saying it because they are insecure. It all comes down to insecurity. If you are secure enough in what you are playing and what you are doing and the way you are spending your time, you do not care if other people don't approve of it. And that's what I see. I see a load of people suffering from insecurity who want to enjoy something, who do enjoy something, but they can't commit to enjoying it because they are scared that if they try and enjoy it earnestly, if they try and enjoy it genuinely, They are opening themselves up emotionally to pushback. This is honestly why I think so much modern writing is done ironically. It's done self-referentially. Because if you enjoy something ironically, you never have to take the emotional risk that somebody might not like it and that reflects on you. If you enjoy something genuinely and someone says, that's a bit crap, you feel attacked, you feel insulted, you feel that you've almost been belittled slightly because in a way you have connected your own personality to the art that you enjoy. Whether that's right or wrong is up for debate, but people do that. If you enjoy something ironically and someone says, yeah, that's crap, you can straight away turn around and be like, yeah, it's crap, I'm just enjoying it ironically. Because what you're doing is you're building in a kind of preset defense mechanism between you and critique. Yes, Apollo, woo-woo. You are building in this... What's the best way to phrase this? You're almost building in a plausible deniability against critique. That's what you're doing. Tyler says all these issues can be resolved by simply touching grass. Yeah, going outside is a great way of doing it. I would encourage people to go outside. I don't think all the issues can be resolved by simply doing that, because what you're doing is you're reducing down a human's kind of psychological concept, the psyche of an individual, which is a complicated thing. People have got stuff going on in their lives. People have, some people are struggling, some people are not, some people are finding difficulties, some people finding aren't. I think that going outside and being healthy and eating right is definitely a really good way of giving yourself the foundational support of that. But I wouldn't ever want to say that it's the only way of fixing it. I think that it's undeniably a good idea, but I think unfortunately we're living through a society that values apathy and it values aloofness, because what that does is that removes emotional risk. Being genuine is emotionally risky. You weren't trying to minimize, just showing there are some solutions that can help. Yeah, that's great. Showing solutions is good. One thing that's really important, and I see this happen a lot, is the way that we approach things, the way that we phrase things, the way that we connect to people has a huge impact on whether that person will or won't take our advice. And sometimes one of the most important, this is what drained me, and I can't do it all the time. Sometimes what's really important is not just offering the right advice, but finding the delivery method that the advice will be listened to and respected. Because let's imagine that someone came to you with a problem and your first response was, you understand what the solution is, and you just give them that solution. Maybe you do it in a slightly aggressive way. You have to ask yourself, have you actually solved the problem? I bet you haven't, because they're not going to go and do it. It's very important that you not only get the right information across to someone, but you get it across to them in a way that they will be receptive to. Choice of words is key. People hate it. And when you say to them, look, it's all about managing somebody else's emotions, it's about managing somebody else's expectations. People don't like the idea that you're manipulating them. And you're not necessarily manipulating them, but you are aware that the delivery of information is, at least to a lot of humans, as important as the information itself. So we're living right now through a time where, and this all links back to the question, do I get pissed off when people ask me for validation on their MMOs? I don't get pissed off when people ask me to validate them doing anything. I get sad. Because the only reason they're asking me for validation is because they look at me with a level of respect. And they think that if I approve of them doing something, they're allowed to do it. The truth is, they were allowed to do it anyway, and they were enjoying it anyway. They were just insecure about earnestly enjoying it. And they wanted someone that they look up to and someone that they see as having a level of confidence to say to them, yes, I think what you're doing is really cool. Because that way they feel safe in continuing to do it. That's what it is. That's how parasocial stuff works. I mean, if it wasn't me, it would be somebody else. It's a shame that you're still hung up on the stance to kindness, but the stream has continued. Kindness is not the inability to say no. Kindness is to treat people as a human and with decency. We can say people are deserving to be blocked out of a community, but we still need to treat them with kindness. Otherwise, we risk going down a slippery slope of hate. While I understand where you're coming from there, kindness itself needs the ability to ostracize people from societies and from communities. Because if you don't have that, then your kindness will constantly be taken advantage of. I'm not saying that we shouldn't be kind to people. I'm saying that at some point, if we are kind to people who intentionally and repeatedly mean us harm, then we are actually not being kind to the society and the culture that we have built up around that. Showing constant kindness to someone whom you know is going to cause pain and suffering and anguish and hardship to people around you is actually showing cruelty to those people. Responding to negativity with positivity can wear you down, even if the person apologizes. I wouldn't say that we need to not respond with... There's nuances to it. If you meet an individual who is ideologically driven to the point of fanaticism with a specific ideology, and they see your kindness to them as simply an opening to be exploited or a weakness, you are not necessarily going to win them over via kindness. And even if you were able to do that, you have to weigh up the amount of time that that's going to take and the amount of negative impact that could have on anyone else around you. At that point, you have to sit back and go, yeah, I could absolutely change this individual for the better. We could absolutely make them a part of this fair, loving, kind, genuine society. But is that process going to come with downsides? And if that process is going to come with downsides, you got to balance what the best amount of stuff for the majority amount of people is. Am I intentionally sitting on a fence while talking about nuance? I wasn't, but I can remain there. You can't out-reason a person out of a position they didn't reason themselves into. And while I understand that ideally every human being should be treated with respect, once that person has shown you through any kind of repeated patterns of behavior that continuing to treat them with respect is going to continue to engage in a negative pattern, might be an idea to say, well, you know what? Maybe I don't want this person in my life anymore. Kindness isn't a surrender, it's an olive branch. Yeah, that's true, I completely agree. But if somebody keeps snapping all of my olive branches, eventually I'm going to start saying, hey, could you stop snapping all my olive branches, please? But yeah, to reference the conversation we're having, which is a fantastic conversation, people are doing it very respectfully, there is a level of mental energy. Hopefully everyone in the chat can understand this. You have a limited amount of mental bandwidth. And when that mental bandwidth begins to run out, there will still be people who demand your attention. There will still be people who demand that you engage with them. And it's important to be able to say to them that in a respectful way, they don't get to demand your time whenever the hell they want it. You can absolutely listen to them if you have the time and the energy. But what happens to me is, and again, you guys can let me know if you've ever experienced this, someone only ever wants 5 minutes. Someone only ever wants 5 minutes of your time. The problem is that when lots of people only ever want 5 minutes, you end up giving a huge amount of your time to people who never just take 5 minutes. So at some point it is totally acceptable to say, I don't have the mental bandwidth to deal with this right now. And someone will come along and say, oh, but I'm only going to take 5 minutes. No, you're going to take a lot longer. So sometimes it's important to say to people, we're not engaging in this right now. And people will come into this stream and they will demand that I debate them. They will demand that I pay attention to whatever specific thing is important to them on that day. And even that is remarkably draining. And at some point I've got to say, you know what? Look, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm sure this could be a really interesting conversation, but I'm out of mental bandwidth for today. I've got a limited amount of mental energy and mental time. Why am I giving all of it to people who want to be confrontational to me when I should be giving it to people whom I love, whom I care about, my friends, my family? I should be giving it to people that I want to see on a day-to-day basis. Why, at this point, do you prioritize giving time and energy to people who do not have your best interests at heart? I'm not saying avoid people forever. Yeah, don't avoid people forever. Of course you need to be able to talk to people. But you also need to accept that at some point, if you keep talking to people, you will eventually run out of mental bandwidth. Oh, 1,000 evils, you're a physician. It's always like, oh, why does this hurt? Why does that hurt? What have I done this? How do I do this? Quick, give me your time. Josh needs to learn the skill ignore. I'll start with you. The problem with arguing with people that you don't know is you don't know how honest they are in the conversation. You don't know what level they're actually attempting to engage with. You don't know if they're being honest with you. They might not be. They may be engaging in bad faith, really bad faith. So I think what's happened is, sometimes what's going to happen, I know this is going to happen, we're going to have people join the stream and they're going to say something that's extremely inflammatory. They're going to say something that's bigoted. They're going to say something that's horrible. And part of me is always going to think, I can fix them. And another part of me is going to jump in front and say, or you could not give the person that's trying to ruin your day your energy. That could work as well, you know. If anything, that could be better. Cryptic says, if streaming causes this level of distress, why don't you do something else that doesn't degrade your mental health? Not every job fits every person. Cryptic, I've done this job for a long time. I've worked in the entertainment industry for a long time. Are you saying that because of what you've heard me say today, you think it will be best if I go and do something else? I think the answer to that, Cryptic, is because of the conversation we had earlier. I enjoy streaming. It's not completely without its challenges, but I enjoy it. I am privileged to be able to do it. I like being able to share whatever I'm doing with you guys, but I'm also not going to sit here and pretend that I don't have any emotional connection or emotional kind of vulnerability whenever I am streaming, whenever I am engaging. And I think that people can tell that, and people, I think, to a degree, actually appreciate that. I'm not saying you need to do that, but I've watched you for years and many streams it makes you upset. Cryptic, I also explained earlier that I've just finished a 100-day streaming experiment where I have been collating and gathering all of the data based on 100 days of streaming, and have made a video that I've put out on the main YouTube channel right now called I Twitch Streamed for 100 Days, Should You? I'm going to be absolutely honest with you. I don't think that me ending a stream being emotionally drained is a special thing, because I've got friends that work shit jobs. I'm sure many of you guys work shit jobs. And I think, and this is just me being completely honest, it would be incredibly arrogant and narcissistic of me to finish a stream and think, oh, that was a bit emotionally draining, I should probably quit. Because a lot of people in the world don't have the luxury of being able to quit a shit job. I think that is an incredible position of privilege for me to be able to think, oh, that was a difficult day, I should probably quit. No, I've worked crap jobs. You've worked crap jobs. Sometimes you have a bad day. Sometimes you just get the hell over it. Sounds horrible, but yeah. I've had streamer friends of mine message me and say like, oh, I'm not really sure what I should do. I'm not feeling it anymore. And part of me, I'm going to be absolutely honest with you, part of me wants to grab them and say, you have one of the most privileged positions within any kind of career you could possibly have. You have, as far as, physically goes, a very easy job. Yes, it's mentally challenging, as any job is. But when people message me and go, oh, I'm just not feeling it, I'm like, do you think the people flipping burgers at McDonald's are feeling it when they go to the job that they need to go to pay their rent? Do you think the warehouse workers are feeling it every time they go and move boxes? Do you think the hospitality workers are feeling it every time they go and have to serve an absolute table of arseholes? No, they aren't. But you turn up, you do your job, you serve the audience, you go home, you decompress. Streaming is a job, that is true, but there are lots of other very shitty jobs out there, much shittier jobs. And every time I sit and complain about this, I think, you know what? I could be doing something much, much worse. So yeah, sometimes I have to grab my friends who have privileged positions and be like, you need to occasionally remember that you are in a far luckier position than lots of other people. And the very fact that you can take a couple of days off to find yourself and decompress is something that most people would kill to be able to do. Occasionally it's important for me to remember a bit of perspective with it. Oh, but my stream wasn't very good. Fine, go and get another job. Okay? Because I guarantee your boss isn't going to care that you didn't feel very good when you were, entering all that data. You just need to do it. Anyway, that's me. You get that it's draining, but if you use the toughen up mentality that people have in normal day jobs, then I can say that most people don't have the luxury to tell their co-workers or clients what they really mean and have a cynical approach. Cryptic, yeah, I completely agree. What's the best way that I can phrase this to you? Life is more complicated than being boiled down into sound bites on a Twitch stream. Sometimes I will talk about things that are relevant to my life. Sometimes they'll be relevant to yours. Sometimes they won't. Sometimes I'll say things that come across as arrogant or ignorant. Sometimes I won't. What I can't do is say something that you're going to 100% agree with, that I'm also going to 100% agree with. So what I think the best thing we can probably do is play some Warcraft, talk about some stuff, shoot the shit, agree that we're not always going to agree with each other, and try to not solve every possible argument. I feel that seems to be the best way to do it. Life is full of nuance, and if I think in any way that what I'm going to say is going to matter, no, it's not. What's going to happen is the bit where I talked about just dealing with your job is going to get clipped, it's going to get put on YouTube. People are going to go with the comments of, well, actually, the specific situation I'm in is different because of this. When you talk about generals, people want to talk about specifics. When you talk about specifics, people want to talk about generals. When you say, in general, this is true, someone will come along and say, well, specifically to me, it doesn't apply because of this reason. And if you say, you know what, once I specifically experienced this, someone will come along and say, well, actually, in general, you shouldn't have experienced that because of this. You're not adding to the conversation. You're literally being contrarian for the sake of being contrarian. Because if someone discusses a general and it doesn't apply to you, you have to let them know. And if someone discusses a specific, but it shouldn't apply in general, you have to let them know. The problem is that these kind of discussions take minutes or hours to have. And if you clip that and put it onto YouTube, people won't watch for minutes or for hours. People want sound bites. People want to read the headline without reading the article, which means that unless everything is contained within the headline, people are going to make a snap judgment and a snap decision off that. So when I say, if you are a streamer, you have a very privileged position and a very privileged job, and sometimes the things you complain about are not things that you need to be complaining about, does not mean you do not have the right to complain about anything. Of course you can complain about your job. We all want to bitch about our job. But sometimes I'm bitching about the fact that I don't know what video game to play, which, let's be fair, is a pretty shit thing to bitch about, because it means that I've got too many games. It's fine to have a bit of a whine every now and again, but occasionally ground the whinge that you're having within the level of the actual annoyance it is. It's totally fine to be annoyed. But there's a bit of a difference between I'm annoyed that I don't know which video game I'm going to play and I can't pay my rent and can't afford food. Bit of a difference. Thankfully, I'm no longer in the latter camp. It sucked when I was there, which means occasionally I've got to remind myself, hey man, maybe stop complaining about shit when you've already solved a hell of a lot of the problems. I think the thing is, people are always going to complain. It's a natural human thing to do. And when you have solved the big problems, you end up complaining about the small problems. But when you complain about the small problems, if you do that to people that have big problems, you come across as a little bit out of touch. Like, I'm not a billionaire. I don't know any billionaires. But if a billionaire ever complains to me that their 5th yacht couldn't fit enough IKEA to put all of the child's skulls on, I'm probably going to think, this is not really a problem I'm ever going to have. Maybe you want to complain to the kind of people who are able to empathize with this. You have that exact problem. Just buy IKEA Kallax units, man. Come on. So I think, as far as I'm concerned, sometimes I just have to check the problems that I have and remind myself that, actually, they're good problems to have. I've learned one thing about boats, and that is that you don't want a boat. You want a friend that has a boat. If anyone here owns a boat, you will understand exactly what I mean, because boat stands for break out another 1,000. I don't ever want to own a boat. The best 2 days of a boat owner's life are the day they buy it and the day they sell it. It's much better to have a friend that owns a boat. Like, you don't want a hot tub. You want a friend that has a hot tub. Because if you get a hot tub, you've got to clean it, you've got to maintain it, you've got to heat it, you've got to pay for it, all that jazz. No, you don't want that. What you want is access to that. That's what I want. I thought for a long time that I wanted a hot tub. Turns out, no. What I want is access to a hot tub. Very different things. And, okay, cool. So, Michael, you've just said same with kids, right? No, not right at all. Because if I were to take the exact sentence I just said with hot tub and replace it with the word kids, I would be saying, I don't want kids. What I want is access to kids. And that's illegal. That's wrong. Maybe what you were going at was, it's more fun to hang out with kids that aren't your own. It's getting worse. The more I add to this, the clips are just going to get worse. Right, I think what you're trying to get at is, it's fun to be the fun uncle, but I don't want to be a dad. Like, don't get me wrong. If a kid walks up to me and goes, hey, you want to have a Nerf war? I'm like, yeah, I want to have a Nerf war. That sounds fantastic. That's super fun. Don't get me wrong. I enjoy the childlike wonder and playtime that comes with that level of play. What I don't want to do is pick up all the darts afterwards. I think that's the truth. I think we can all understand where I'm coming from with that. I want to have the Nerf war. I don't want to pick the Nerf darts back up. I think we saved that. I think I managed to turn that around. Like, don't get me wrong, I was worried at the start, but I think I was able to save that. That was a good save. In all seriousness, in like a non-weird way, I do miss teaching in primary and high schools, because playtime in a primary school, you do get to see the kids having a great time, just innocently enjoying life, and there is like a genuine, honest beauty to that. There's like a real fun, light energy to just knowing the kids are having a good time. Like when I was doing playground duty, which is where the teachers stand and watch to make sure the kids don't kill themselves on the playground. That's pretty much the entire job. There is just a level of fun to it, to see the kids playing Tig and running around, and some of them were still playing with Pokemon cards, and some have got Yu-Gi-Oh cards, and some are doing football, and some are just sitting on the corner chatting, and I'm like, you know what? It was just nice to see that level of comfort within that environment. It was really nice. I don't miss every aspect of the job, but I do miss almost in a selfish way the fact that I got to, through seeing the fun they were having at playtime, almost connect with that. That was nice, man. It's nostalgic. It's innocent. It's a time before responsibility. And that was nice, you know? That was nice. I mean, Twitch as a framework is fine. It's some of the people on it. Most of you guys are cool. I'll be fair. You know, most of you, totally cool people. Some of you, a little bit weird, but still cool. Some of you, though, complete arseholes. It's just straight up you are. You know you are. Most of you, though, totally fine. Those of you who are fine and weird, you're the best. Okay, you're fun. Your comic timing, better than anything could ever be. But the arseholes, that's why we need to push them out. I think I realized that this is why I don't mind creating an echo chamber, because I'm not the only one in it. We're all in this echo chamber together. And if there's someone over in the corner screaming obscenities, echoing around the room, everyone's going to look at me and they're like, maybe we could get rid of the weird bigoted guy that keeps screaming obscenities and echoing, because that's not a good echo. I'm like, you know what? That's fair. That's fair. If we're going to live in the echo chamber, let's at least make sure the echoes are pleasant echoes. Zebek, I'm not view-botting because, and I have to make this honest, I don't know how to. Zebek, the last messages you've sent are, keep it up, man. This is insane content. Type 1 if you agree. Insane play, bro. No Lamau, I'm trolling you. If you're not a bot, then you're just a very sad human. Like, at that point, I'm going to be honest, Zebek, after reading your message, I think I'd prefer a bot. Like, that would have made much more sense. I chat GPT'd give me examples of messages when someone Twitch streams is view-botted and chat-botted. Why? So you're attempting to troll by asking ChatGPT how to troll. At this point, I just feel bad for bullying the disabled. You know what, Zebek? Do your best. Remember when trolling took effort? Yeah, I had to definitely process that sentence because it just came across as a bit weird. Someone in chat earlier said, wow, this streamer is mean. No, that's my entire comeback to that. There you go. No. I could sit down and give you a long explanation about how actually... No, philosophically, mercy to the wolf is cruelty to the sheep again. And what you actually understand is that we need to do a little bit of gatekeeping, otherwise we let people who troll using ChatGPT in. Chronic Bubonic says, I'm about to go hardcore on my butthole with a frozen stick of butter. You know what? It's my fault for streaming. It's my fault for having the internet. At some point, I do have to look at the actions and the responsibilities that I hold and think, I'm choosing to continue to engage with the World of Warcraft Classic community. At some point, I'm going to end up, you know, engaging with them. The internet is a gift, don't waste it. It's a gift in the same way that a baby coming to you with a shat diaper is bringing you a gift. There's not much you can do with it, and at some point, you might as well just throw it away and start again. The baby or the diaper? Honestly, at this point, both. Is the internet the abyss or the chat function? They are symbiotically connected. Soul Reaver and Reaver of Souls. Internet, chat, Twitch, abyss, Lovecraftian god. Remember the old Lovecraftian stories that always had a character looking into the mouth of madness or reading a book and going insane, and we thought, that's not very realistic. Turns out it was. They had just managed to condense the internet down into a book. Zebek, what was H.P. Lovecraft's cat's name? Oh, that was the N-word, wasn't it? Zebek, I'm aware of history. Zebek, I'm not based for knowing that. That's just a fact of history. You can go and check that. I'm not endorsing or agreeing with that. I'm just saying that that's a fact of history. The fact that you thought it was some kind of based own to bring up, hey, do you know a history fact? Yeah, I do. Not everyone knows, duh. You know what, I think you're a bit of an idiot and I don't want to interact with you anymore. There we go. That's what I was talking about earlier. Some people come into the chat and they engage in good faith. And what some people do is they engage in bad faith. And eventually you start to realize that some people are not the kind of people that you want to have around because they are just bigots. And I don't mind people being funny, but as soon as someone's like, I'm going to get my laughs by just being an idiot. No, there we go, and get rid of you now. That's way easier. You kind of miss what happened. Some edgelord kid came into the chat and started just being a bit of an arsehole. I think it's because there's a lot of very dumb edgelord kids that just think racism is funny. And it's not. You can go and check the H.P. Lovecraft's cat's name thing, by the way. It's a relatively well-known fact in the literary world. Turns out a lot of these old writers, not the best people. Being aware of awkward facts from history does not mean that you endorse those facts. It just means that you are aware of them. It was a racism thing, yes. Yeah, it was a racism thing. I think there are some people online who are just not very good at socializing. And so what they tend to do is they approach interactions with people as... What's the best way of putting it? They have the mentality of bigoted children. And unfortunately, sometimes you interact with people who are not good in real life situations or who are very... I don't like to use the word stupid, but I think it fits. Stupid. But I've come to realize that as soon as someone is engaging in bad faith, they aren't content. They aren't fun, they aren't funny. If anything, they're damaging to me and to you. I'm thinking that the best way to describe it is they weren't burdened with an overabundance of schooling. They make the quality of the stream lower. Have you guys ever been at a party? And I know it's a big ask. Some of you are immediately, I've lost you straight away, but stick with me if you have. Have you ever been at a party and there has been someone... No, you don't need to say no. Have you ever been at a party and the vibes are good and then someone does something that just absolutely kills the vibes? Maybe they said something stupid, they tried to do a backflip and ended up smashing the table in, they started a fight, and you just look at the person that ruins the party and you're like, what is wrong with you, dude? Everyone was having a good time, the vibes were good, the energy was nice, and you just came over here and you just messed it up because everything had to be about you. Everyone, you had to raise the bar. You had to go out there and be the obnoxious little shit that destroys the party. Imagine dealing with people like that on Twitch all day, every day. If you ever start to think, why do I ban people or why do I push people away, the exact people that say the things in order to get a rise are the exact people that would have ruined the party. And at some point, you do need to say, this is my party. You're ruining it. Please leave. Sometimes they're an idiot, sometimes they don't know how to socialize. I also don't have the time to work out which is which. Yeah, so sometimes what happens is this Twitch stream is the vibes of a party, and then you get the idiot that nobody invited coming in and being an annoying little kid. And Arky says, if you get kicked out of a party room at FurryCon, you've messed up. Look, there are two reasons that people leave a room at FurryCon. Either the orgy is over or the server is down. They are the only reasons. If ever you do have an influx of IT tickets that have not been answered, just double check that it doesn't coincide with the timing of a furry convention. Wow, real armchair psychologist right here. Yep, I'm just continuing to read. Cryptic Manor, as a construction worker, it's a big contrast to how you describe your interactions with people. Whereas in my line of work, people are very rarely rude or in bad faith. Cryptic, it's very difficult to be rude to someone or in bad faith to someone when they're physically in front of you and are also a lot stronger than you are. If you're a construction worker, I'm guessing you're pretty damn strong. People are not going to walk up to someone and be rude to someone they know could punch them in the face. People, however, will, because they feel intimidated, the fact they can't do that in real life, seek an outlet for it online. People will be keyboard warriors. They will message you in a way that allows them to get their power fantasy fix without putting themselves in harm's way. The internet has given a lot of people who have a lot of insecurity a huge amount of outlets in order to vent their frustration. Now, of course, sometimes things do get read in the wrong tone, and it's very important to reread those and to understand how that tone needs to be presented, which is why we need to look for pattern recognition. It's why we need to look for a continued pattern of behavior. So if you want to say that I'm an armchair psychologist for looking at this, absolutely, I'm not a qualified psychologist at all. And I am sitting in an armchair right now. I am simply pointing out the repeated patterns of behavior that I've come to see in my line of work. I think people that are comfortable with themselves are normally okay having these kind of discussions and don't feel... I mean, you've got to remember this, guys. People that are happy in life aren't the people that are coming online to do some online trolling. These are not happy people. They're not content people. They're not people with a huge amount of outside hobbies. They're not people that have, the career's not going great for them. Maybe the relationship isn't going great for them. Maybe it's not the best life general vibe. So we're not exactly dealing with the cream of the crop straight away. And sometimes I need to remind myself of that. Sometimes when someone comes online and starts spewing off bigotry, I've got to think, maybe I'm not dealing with the most content person. Because that helps me. Zab says, you're not also in a great place, but you feel being kind and present isn't that difficult. Zab, in that case, you're doing way better than most people are. Well done. I mean, I'm not saying that everyone, and again, this is a point that I need to get across to people. I'm not saying that everyone that goes online and is unhappy in their life is going to be a troll. That's not true. If you are facing hardships, if you are facing difficulty, I am not saying correlation and causation have to be the same thing. I'm not saying that every single person that is facing difficulties is going to, you know, deal with that and mitigate that by being a dick online. That's not fair on everyone at all. Of course they're not going to do that. I think it's silly I have to explain that. What I am saying is that people that actively go online and search for people to troll are doing it because they have a deep need for attention, a deep need for validation, a need for power in a life that is maybe making them feel powerless. People want an outlet for negativity, and the internet is the lowest barrier to do that. Josh, I feel like you're always arguing with chat or venting about some troll every time I tune in. Don't you think you're fostering a bad community by spending so much time and energy on negative subjects? Rag, we're not necessarily focusing on the negativity. We're talking about the psychology of the kind of people that come online and engage with the conversation. If you see negativity every single time you come into the stream, have you considered the problem might be you? Just saying, you know? If you smell shit everywhere you go, check your shoe. We were having a good laugh earlier. If you're seeing negativity every time you come into the stream, common denominator there's you, my bro. Your shoe, yes, because I'm implying that you stepped in shit. Oh my god, are most of you so terminally online that when I said smelled shit, you all just assumed that you'd shit yourself? Is that the level of terminally online that I'm currently talking to? I said if you smell shit, check your shoe, and a normal person would think, oh yeah, we've obviously stepped in dog poo. And multiple people online went, why would I check my shoe when it's clearly in my undergarments? Wow. God. I forgot I was playing Warcraft, but thank God you all reminded me. See, that was an example of my sense of humour. And some people are going to message me and be like, that was a bit cruel. No. This is the community that I've cultivated. It is, unfortunately. I just think that I need to start hanging around people who are able to take a bit more of a joke.